Welcome to Season 3 of This Is Your Life in Silicon Valley, a podcast about the Bay Area, technology, and culture. I'm your host, Sunil Rajaraman, and I'm joined by my co-host, Yasha Kakis-Wolf.
Sunil, I got a straw poll for you. You ready?
I'm ready.
Actually, I don't even know if straw poll is the right word, but I got a question for you. Are we going to change our podcast music ever?
I knew I was going to get criticized for that at some point. I'm on it.
I wasn't criticizing you. I was just asking. But I do have a very serious question. When you picture startup founder, or just founder in your head, what do you picture?
Oh, I picture Richard from HBO's Silicon Valley, white dude wearing a hoodie.
White dude wearing a hoodie. Why is that?
That's because that's what we've grown accustomed to in pop culture.
Well, we have somebody on the podcast today who's pretty special.
Lisa Fetterman is a female founder who invented a particular type of Sous-Vide machine. Is that how I pronounce it, by the way?
Sous-Vide.
Sous-Vide. Gosh, I'm such a,
I probably just said it wrong.
Taco Bell and In-N-Out.
I probably just said it wrong, too. But here's the thing. After today, when somebody says startup founder, Lisa's going to be the picture that I have in my head.
This is a really great interview, and she is also an organizer within the tech community for female founders, and she has a very simple message on how to fix the gender diversity problem.
It's a great episode today. It covers a lot of ground, and I think what I appreciate about Lisa's approach most is that she is unapologetically positive and supports the people that she cares about.
Enjoy today's episode.
This is your life in Silicon Valley.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming into this super hot little closet with the two of us.
It's so freaking hot.
I know. I refuse to take my jacket off, and I'm just pouring sweat underneath this today.
It's a look, babe.
Well, I mean, you just got to hold the look, right? I think so. Sunil constantly gives me shit about what I'm wearing, but I won't take the jacket off.
See, I actually think right now the two of you should just do this podcast because there's just this vibe that like you two are you're like, you know, you've co-hosted podcasts before or something. I don't know, past life.
What were you in a past life?
Where was I in a past life? That's such a great question.
Or who were you in a past life? What did you do in a past life? In your most recent past life, what did you do?
I definitely sold stuff.
Yeah?
Like either a newspaper or like candies. I was out on the street just hustling, panhandling. What it do, baby boo? $5.99 for this Pikachu. You know.
So you had a pretty recent past life if you're selling Pikachu stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get you.
You know.
I think I was a monk in my last life. And I think I lived really old. I think I lived like in my hundreds, and I was just bitter at the world because all of my friends died. And I'm now still trying to grapple with that in this lifetime.
Word. I was
Right?
always an entrepreneur and live fast, die young, sell the things.
You sound like a San Francisco native. Did you grow up here?
I grew up in China, and I came to the States when I was 7 in 94. And I grew up in New York in Port Washington, Long Island, which is heavily Jewish.
Yeah.
And I thought that all of America was Jewish. I learned a lot of Hebrew. And now I'm married to Abraham Jacob Fetterman.
What's his Instagram handle?
Oh, Kale-Mageddon.
Yeah, Kale McGinn. That's a pretty good one. So growing up in New York and Long Island, which, by the way, I have some family from Long Island because that's where it all happens. Long Beach, Long Island, though. A little different than Port Washington, right? Did you ever think as a 7-year-old who just moved to Long Island that you were going to move to San Francisco? Was it a part of a picture that you had in your head?
I always thought like California was mystical and magical. It's like summer all the time, which was a huge mistake when I first came to San Francisco. I came in shorts and a t-shirt. I didn't pack anything else. It was, yeah, I was like, whoa, but it's supposed to be summer here.
But so was it the weather really that got you excited about coming to California? Was it the Bay Area? Did you think San Francisco's the spot or just California in general?
Okay, well, with California, like San Francisco was the place for startups. Like I didn't even know the word startup until somebody described it to me, and San Francisco together. I was like, hey, I think I might be a startup. And they were like, well, then you need to go to San Francisco. And have you ever heard of Y Combinator and all this stuff? I'm like, what?
So does Silicon Valley care about female founders?
No! Silicon Valley does not care about female founders. They've only funded, 38% of companies are run by women, led by women, and only 2% got funding last year. That's down from 3%. And then I have a lot of male VC friends. I have a lot of friends in general. People think I'm cool. They love the vibe. They love the positivity. And I love people. And I have a lot of male VC friends. And whenever I talk to them about this subject and I say, hey, only 2% of female-led companies got funded, they counter with, Lisa, well, first of all, that's really off-putting to just bring gender into this conversation like that. And also, I don't, how many women run companies? I rarely see a female-led company come into my boardroom. I'm like, dude!
Why? Tell us why. Why is this happening?
Because of unseen biases. It's systemic. It's absolutely systemic. People are not used to seeing women as leaders, and therefore they can't even imagine it. Silicon Valley is the place where you're supposed to change the world, where people have the biggest imaginations and the most creativity, and that's just not true. Silicon Valley is a magnification of the status quo.
So I had an interesting conversation. Sorry to jump on, Sunil. We actually have a jar that we keep in the corner whenever we talk over each other. We got to put $1 in it. So just remember, $1 for the show, because I just talked to the top of them. I had 2 weekends ago, I was hanging out with a couple of friends, my wife and I were, and one of our friends is a woman founder who has been successful, sold a couple different companies, and we started having this conversation where I said, look, I'm a 40-plus-year-old white guy in Silicon Valley.
You white.
And I believe, you're very, and I believe that I've got bias. And I'm aware that I have bias, so I want to try and do what I can to break out of that bias. And part of that is being aware of diversity in hiring. And she got on my case. She was like, you are a part of the problem because you're trying to hire women just for the sake of hiring women and minorities and. And that's not necessarily even what I was saying, but it became such a heated discussion where I just kept going back to when we have a diverse population of people who are running companies, we make better decisions. And she didn't buy it. Is there a way that we can help people understand that, even women founders?
That's internalized misogyny, babe. That's okay. All women are queens. I may disagree with some women, and if she's got to say that, a lot of our careers are boosted by men. And there is obviously this innate want to protect the people who raised you up. And I respect that. Okay, babe, that's internalized misogyny, babe.
Can you, as a man in Silicon Valley, tell that to a woman? Maybe that's a stupid question, but can I say that's internalized misogyny?
If it depends on how close you are to her.
Yeah.
I see if she wants to say something, I think what you can say when that conversation happens, because my goal for 2019 is protect all women, protect all sluts, protect all female founders, protect all bitches. That is my goal. And if I'm far apart with someone on an issue, I will just say, honey, or name Linda. I'm sorry. I'll just stop you right there because we're too far apart on this issue to go ahead on it. I'll say I'll listen to you. I'm happy to listen. And here's what I'm saying. And I think we're too far apart on this issue.
I want you to shock us with the actual story. And so I think oftentimes we just talk at a high level about stats and stuff like that. And what people really like is personalization and understanding how something hits home. Tell us a funding story about you or about another founder that you know that will really connect with our audience.
Ooh, okay. So for founders that I know, I keep it in a lockbox,
Yeah, you got to protect your sources.
Queen to queen. You tell me this thing, it's thank you. It's for my benefit. I go forward. I know it.
But if I tell you something, is it in the lockbox?
If you tell me something on this podcast?
Yeah, well, not on the podcast. But if I were to share something with you after, would it be in the lockbox?
If you told me to, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, just setting the record straight.
Word. So I'll tell you one of my funding stories. This is a doozy. So I just came to San Francisco and I pitched hundreds upon hundreds of VCs and angels about Sous-Vide. I invented the home Sous-Vide immersion circulator in 2010. Me and my husband, we went to the hardware store and we picked up a few things. We did a DIY open source kit. We traveled all across the United States to different maker spaces. OG. Lived in China for 2 years next to our factory to learn how to manufacture. Brought that manufacturing to America. You know, like so painstaking, so OG. Okay, one of my earliest investors when I got rejected from so many people. He was like kind of like a knight in shining armor. He saw me at a conference where I was pitching hard, and he was like, "You know what, Lisa? I'm gonna put in some money. I'm gonna put in 10K into your company." And at that time, 10K took us like 6 months. I was like, "Thank you. I'm so happy." He's like, "I believe in you. I believe in Sous-Vide." His name is Steven Savanjan, and he became the CEO of Innova, which was my largest rival. And then they sold to Electrolux for $250 million. And before they did, he asked me, he was like, "You know what? You can buy my stock back if you'd like." But I didn't know what was happening. So I bought a stock back, and I was so happy. I was like, this is finally, you know, your conflict of interest, you know, and everything. Like, you're trying to make it right. I see it. You should have just given it back to me, honestly. And then he just sold the company. And the first Innova was an exact replica of Nomiku. All their wording was exactly like Nomiku. And I was just like, wow. And he's a white dude. He's a white dude who's been in startups for a long time. He saw an opportunity to make a life-changing amount of money. He was like, "Bye, bish."
What was the last conversation you had with him?
Ooh, the last conversation I had with him, he asked me over to his house for dinner. And I remember this quite vividly because it was so weird. Because I was like heavily pregnant with my first kid. And dinner was food from the Whole Foods Hot Bar. And he was like, "Hey, want you to know I'm going to start working with Innova." And then I said, "Whoa, that's a huge conflict of interest. That's not right." And he got really kind of mad. He's like, "No, man. Like, you're just saying that because you're pregnant. Like, the hormones are crazy." I know! Can you believe that? Classic. This was before Me Too. Everything.
So what do you think the repercussions should be for someone like that?
He acted in bad faith.
What's like the VC penalty box?
That's the thing. It's like, you think you can say that this was just business, and I do chalk it up as just business. This is just life. If you do that, you have to live with that. You wake up every day and you know you like copied a True G and made some cash. It's not really about repercussions in my book. For me, it's like, it really gives me a nice chip on my shoulder. Every day I wake up like, smell the fresh revenge. I want to make more money. I want to make a product that nobody can copy, which is what led to my ultimate product, which is basically an espresso for dinner. Nobody wants to follow me into that territory. Hardware and food and software on top of that, and you wrote 2 cookbooks. Like, I just want to dominate.
I love that. I love the competitive spirit. Tell us about, on a positive note, tell us 5 female founders that you're really excited by, that you would want everybody, all of our listeners, to know about, and things that they're working on. It doesn't have to be 5, it can be 3, whatever that number is.
The rest of this podcast is gonna be this. I can name 50. I love Liz Curtis. She makes this thing which is basically like Rent the Runway, but in a box for your table settings. So if you have a dinner party, you have the plates, you even have like the straws for the cups, you have like the candelabra. It's all set, and you just rent it, and then you put your dirty dishes back into the box. That's eco-friendly. They reuse the box all the time, and then that's it. And I can have friends over, and I don't have to stress about it. Liz Curtis, Table and Teaspoon, so freaking crazy good. And then we've got Ann Hassel and Sarah from Winnie. They make a platform where it makes it easy for parents to talk to each other and do childcare. Childcare is so freaking crazy. I'm not talking about just like urban sitter stuff, which is also amazing. Shout out to Lynn. But y'all know Lynn. Lynn funded to the teeth. Lynn is a boss. Lynn rocks.
I actually do know Lynn.
You do know Lynn.
Yeah, she's great.
Avi, female founders have to be like super honed, polished, charismatic, I don't know, sexy in order to like get like even a blip of attention. There's so many more. Okay, I got a shout out to I have to look at my Facebook thing.
Oh yeah, no, you're good. You can pull out your smartphone if you want, but while you're pondering that, see, Yasha and I are like doing the 2 mic thing. I'm gonna owe him like $20 by the end of this. But I'm actually really curious about this. Diving in, I thought Yasha was kind of taking us down a really interesting thread. What are 3 things that every man, not just in Silicon Valley, but wherever, any industry, should stop doing immediately or start doing immediately?
Just listen to women, what they have to say to you. Another thing that they should start doing is back women, gang, like you would back a fellow bro. Like somebody like back them, give them the benefit of the doubt. Stop kicking the tires so hard. You kick the tires on any car, eventually you're gonna freaking put a hole in that tire with your foot. Don't do that. Like women, like men, especially male VCs, will see a woman-led company and think everything negative about that company, whereas they don't think about the possibilities. They'll ask leading questions about what if this goes wrong. Ask questions about what if it goes right that you would ask a male founder. Catch yourself. Don't ever say to a female founder who has a female-led product, let my wife try this. I think that is incredibly demeaning unless your wife is a partner in the fund. Look at their data. Do real market research. Yes, get the anecdotal evidence from your wife, but like don't just say like, oh, I gotta have my wife look at this. I think that's like totally whack.
What about outside of VC? I'm curious about this because, there's only, a small subset of people who are VCs, and our audience is going to probably be mostly non-VCs, just in general, like just day-to-day work, Silicon Valley, wherever.
Don't ask women to do the hard work for you. Read a book, man. Read a book about feminism. Go on everydayfeminism.com. Tailor your media to learn about people of color and women of color. Like, You've got to do the work. Don't ask a woman to please sit down and tell me what I need to do. Like, this is fine. This is a podcast.
I was like, wait.
No. This is fine. But because people honestly don't know. Okay, shout out to Kanjun Chu of Sorceress. Sorceress is freaking amazing. It's such a crazy great AI company for sourcing your next candidate for the company. I think they do something where it makes the CEO have the ability to send out hundreds of emails to great potential candidates. Holla.
All right, Yasha, I've got so much more I can do, but I don't want to owe too many in the dollar jar.
Do you like San Francisco? I mean, you're unbelievably positive.
Yeah.
But do you like living here?
I love San Francisco, baby. My dream is to live here without the pain. I love it. The ocean, the Bay Bridge, the people, the spirit, the hustle. I love even the freaking dogs that are here. They're so cute.
So we got Sunil hitting you up on the top 5 and top 3 list. So let me get my top 3 list in also.
Yeah.
What are your top 3 wants, requirements, needs, have-to-haves from London Breed?
From London Breed?
Yeah.
Word. Yes. We need to, number one, take care of the homeless situation. And that is a mental health crisis. And we had a shelter for mental health in the 1970s that we closed for some reason. Well, I mean, we know the reasons. A lot of us know the reasons. But we need mental health here in San Francisco. Top 3 for her. Dang. We need to have subsidies for folks who want to make more things here in San Francisco.
For people, not for companies, or for both?
For people and for companies. Anybody who has this is startup mecca. Let's just make it even more easier for people making physical objects here. That's coming from me as a hardware person.
Maybe
one more is the last one is family leave is so important. I have 2 kids. I have a 5-year-old and 2-year-old. I took 2 weeks maternity leave painfully for both of them. So bad. The placenta was still fresh, y'all. We need comprehensive support. We pay shaiga amount of taxes up into this B.
You can swear.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm trying not to swear for my kids because I do swear a lot.
That's very big of you. I have 3 kids and I curse a lot. Actually, our whole family curses a lot. It's how we express ourselves.
That's it's good if you can do it for emphasis. I like swearing for emphasis. I don't like swearing out of control. Like when you stub your toe and you say, "Oh fuck," you know. Like I'm just like, you're out of control, man. Control yourself.
So we're staring at a hardware device that's sitting right in front of us, which I'm going to ask you to paint the picture of in just a moment. But before we navigate into there, can you talk about the restaurant scene in San Francisco? Like, what do you like about what's happening here right now? What do you not like about what's happening right here? I know we're jumping all over the place.
What I like about what's happening here is that there is a lot of innovation in restaurants and a lot of creativity because we have a very well-heeled clientele, aka peeps be rich. So we can like have a lot of room and people be patronizing restaurants and investing in restaurants. Keep doing that. You're going to lose all of your money and you should know that, and it's going to be great. You're going to love losing every penny that you have that you invest in a restaurant. Keep doing it. It's great for everybody. It's great for the community. It's great for art. Art is life. And what I hate about what's going on in restaurants is that nobody can keep their doors open because rich people will not be funding it as much. Rich people do it. And plus, we can't retain talent because Google, Airbnb, and all those folks are, how can you fight against like, I don't know, like an $80K salary plus benefits for a chef? Holy shit. Also, restaurant culture is incredibly toxic. Like, they talk about how toxic startup culture is, and it truly is, and very insidious because it's all hidden underneath the surface. Restaurants, it's incredibly explicit. Like, you will, as a female chef or a female worker in the restaurant, you will get the worst harassment of your life. It's very bad. Shout out to Ushma Garg of Gobble. Gobble, the only capital efficient meal kit out there. It's so amazing and the food tastes awesome. Shout out to Jessica Scorpio. Scorpy! I think like she sold Get Around or like bought a company for 300 mil. You go queen. You go queen.
So tell us about the device now. What do we have sitting in front of us? And what is this thing that you invented?
I invented the home Sous-Vide immersion circulator, and this is my latest product, which is our 3rd iteration of hardware. It has an RFID reader, and we ship you the food with it. You wave the food in front of the machine, it automatically recognizes it. You drop it in 30 minutes you get a gourmet meal, regardless of any dietary restriction you may have in your household.
I'm not going to pretend like everybody that's a listener understands all of what you just said. So can you break down like what is a sous vide?
Of course. Before I do that, what this is basically is your own personal chef. And then you just drop food in. It's a magical food cooker. Like Nespresso and Keurig, they don't call their machines like hydraulic, pod, extraction, blah, 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 blah. So like, I don't need to call it a sous vide immersion circulator. Just know you can chap and eat in 30 minutes. That's it. Sous vide is a precise temperature way of cooking that every single top chef in the world uses. Whether you're Dominique Crenn, Noma, Cezanne, Restaurant Meadowood, who all use my machines. You rely on it every single evening for beautiful, consistent results. For example, stay cooked at 57 degrees Celsius. That's when the fat and the collagen will melt into the muscle, making each bite juicy, tender, and delicious. It's edge-to-edge perfection. All you do is sear it a little bit, and then the action time is super low. You can leave it alone for hours and hours and hours, and it scientifically cannot overcook because it's already at the perfect temperature. The biggest technology ever for cooking was fire, and ever since we discovered it, we've just been trying to control it. And now we control heat to 0.1 degrees Celsius, and that's absolutely revolutionary.
I can tell that you're very passionate about this, which is good.
It is all I do.
So did you go through Y Combinator?
I did.
What was that like? Tell us about your experience.
That was super fun and super, super intense. Like, I went through it with my husband and co-founder, Abraham Jacob Fetterman. And we actually sat there was like a table on the side and the front for solo founders. And because we're married, we felt like we were one. We identified most with like the solo founders and their hustle. It was like super, super intense. Like, people next to you used to work for the Treasury of the United States, or like they won all these hacking shiznits, or they got like first place at MIT in AI, and you're like, what the fudgy the whale? and then you're like, oh, I did this, and like, yeah, I just got Forbes 30 under 30 when I joined, and Sam Altman, who was leading at the time, got it as well. So I was talking to him about it. I was like, congratulations on Forbes 30 under 30. He's like, yeah, it's bullshit. And then I was like, oh, I just got it too. You know, it was like very humbling, all these impressive people around you, and then it very motivating because you're like, I'm on your level.
So what do you want to do with this company? Like, what's your, I don't know. Tell us what it looks like 10 years from now. What are you selling these? Are you still doing this? Do you get acquired like your dissident investor? What happens?
Ooh. Well, what I see is us completely curing the emotional and physical toil of making dinner. When you look at the kitchen, the home kitchen, and technology, women, and now the primary caretaker of the house, have always struggled mentally and physically with the kitchen. And every time that there has been a technology movement in the kitchen, it was always by accident and grassroots led. So for example, when the internet first came online, it would break every day. And it broke every day not because of porn, not because of high traffic stock trading. It broke every day at 4 p.m. when women would log on and look for recipes for dinner. If Kim Kardashian's ass had a recipe on it, it would have really broken the internet. So like technology has been, the home kitchen has been so thirsty for technology, and everybody leading hardware and software efforts there has been led by a man. And like, that's fine. Thank you for your interest. Thank you for your look, but your gaze is not correct. And the way you want to, like, when the men look at the kitchen, well, they're like, well, there's one OS to dominate the entire kitchen. And the people who actually use the home kitchen, like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude?
You just swore.
Yeah. Oh, I said what the fuck.
For emphasis.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I could have finished it with a nice fudgy. Yeah, so, but like, I remember when the Kindle first came out, I think like the team thought like, oh, it's going to be the living room, it's going to be the bedroom. Overwhelmingly, the majority of use is in the kitchen. Because when you have your hands full of raw chicken and you need something, you need to remember something, you just yell at your Alexa, hey Alexa, blah, 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 blah. And then of course, that's sexist in and of itself. What, you yell a woman's name when you need some shit? Fuck you.
There we go. We needed a good strong finish on the. There we go. Yeah.
So you take technology to the kitchen in a way that makes people's lives better. And a decade from now, what is that for you? Like, what's that mean for you? What else?
That means people's lives are better. And if it means like I get acquired, sick. Thanks, Daddy. If it means that I IPO'd, sick. Thanks, Mommy. You know? Like, I just don't know. I'm hoping for a positive outcome financially for my existing investors who are freaking sweet and hopefully won't copy my new thing. but ultimately, I just want the results for the end consumer, like the peeps who use it. It's really, I don't know how much of your life you're losing by worrying about dinner. It sucks.
So you also organize some of the largest groups of women in tech in the Bay Area. We talked a little bit about that before you joined the interview. What can you share with our broader audience about that? You know, so what kind of topics of discussion come up that everybody should know about and should take away from this after listening to this? What are the things that are discussed?
The things that are discussed in a lot of empowered or professional women's groups is, how the hell do we get funding? Number one topic. Like, people always say like, oh, this place is hot for startups. Guess why it's hot for startups? Because there's money being doled out. That's it. That's literally it. And people wring their hands all the time. How do we fix this problem with female founders? Fund them! That's literally it. Shut up. They're like, oh, well, come to our dinner, Lisa. about female founders, like a huge VC group of like, please come to our dinner. I'm like, how much did you spend on this dinner? Give it to a founder. Like, how much are like we're going to do a task force for female founders. Great, cool. Funding is at 2% for female founders. The only thing that you need to do to fix this issue is to fund female founders. That's literally it. And then whatever is hard about it, you can tell me, and that's great if you need to get it off your chest, and then write a check.
Strong.
So where do we start? I get it. Yes.
Write a check.
Write checks. Do you want VC firms to set targets of checks written to women? Is that a good first step?
Your target should be 100%.
Okay.
100%. They asked Ruth Bader Ginsburg when would there be enough women on the Supreme Court? 100%. 100%. Make sure that your fund's quota for funding women is 100%. The Supreme Court used to be 100% men. Nobody batted their eyes about that. All our presidents 100% men. Everybody's like, that's chill and cool. When Y Combinator first started, it was 100% men. / Jessica, one of the founders. But like all the companies were 100% men. Nobody was like, okay, maybe there's something wrong with that. But when something is radically, when something is 100% women, it's not all of a sudden becomes so radical. Why is that, dog? Look inside your own heart, dog. Read a book, dog. 100% women.
What's something that we should have asked you that we didn't ask you today?
That's my favorite interview question.
I know. I just figured I'd throw it in there.
That's a great question.
I love it. I'm just kind of going to pat myself on the back for coming up with that right now.
For being a stumper. I'm going to let you think about that. And while you're thinking about that, we want to shift gears. We're actually coming up close to the end of the time.
Yep.
I want to just keep going, though. But I do want to ask you one question right away, and then we can come back to what question should we have asked you. On the networks that you spend your time, if you watch TV, read newspapers, read books, hang out on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, wherever, who are a couple of authors or interesting people or companies on those networks that you'd recommend our listeners go out and pay attention to?
There's the Equity Collective that I really like. It's run by Sarah B. Sorry, this closet is so hot. I feel like I'm getting interrogated by the police. So
well, maybe that's because we have that spotlight pointed on you.
Oh, word. that also helps in the forgetting of the mind melt. But the Equity Collective is really cool for female founders raising. I also like.
And are they on Twitter? Are they on Facebook?
Yeah,
like,
they're on the Fache Bouquet. Okay. And they're on Twitter. You can like find Sarah and all the places. I like her a lot. Very, very useful. Great resource. And then you should join my secret club called the FEMPS. One of the founding members, the founder is Stephanie Hughes. It is like off the chain in there. Everything professional. We help each other. We rally around. It's like a church group. Like, yo, you need some help? You need like $20? Let's go.
That's awesome. So did you think of an answer to my, what question?
What should you have asked me? I think one thing that's interesting is if you were just a question that I guess get asked a lot is if you were starting out today, what would you have changed? That's always a hard question for me because sometimes the answer is I would change nothing because it led to what I'd done today. Yay! And then sometimes I think about like what is the real answer? Because obviously if I have a priori knowledge of what's up, I would do things very differently. First of all, I wouldn't take a check from Steven Vanden. I would have been like, I would have patted myself on the back and said, this is the real answer. Okay, I found it in my head. The real answer is what I would do differently if I knew what I did today is that I would tell myself, if Lisa from the future could talk to past Lisa, I will look her in the eye and say, Lisa, you're right. You're right. Nobody knows what the future is. You're building the future. If you can build it, it is literally the future. Just work really hard at building that future, and that's all you have to do. Don't think about if you're right or wrong, because there's no such thing. And you are right. Surprise. I'm from the future. I know. Just work really, really hard on. Just work really. Don't lose any freaking sleep on if this is gonna work. If you make it work, it will work.
So listeners, you have to replay this in a week, in 2 weeks, in 3 weeks, and then 3 years, and then 30 years. All right, Lisa, this was awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
I am awesome.
Well, I had to take a little bit of a break after that interview and start on dinner tonight. It's cooking actually right next to us. We're like 15 minutes into dinner in the Sous-Vide.
So now I know how to pronounce Sous-Vide, which is great. But if I were to go on a health food kick, I would definitely get one of her machines.
I don't think it's health food, Sunil. I don't think the Sous-Vide is all about health food.
Well, Sous-Vide aside, I had a lot of interesting takeaways from today's interview.
What a fantastic discussion. And again, I just think of startup founder in a completely different light after having spent time with her. I wish we could bottle her up, maybe in a podcast, and share her with absolutely everybody in the Bay Area.
Well, she definitely indicated what group to join, Facebook group, if you're interested in following Lisa a little bit more in her career. And I really liked her simple formula on how to fix the gender diversity problem.
100%. Speaking of 100%, if you enjoyed this podcast as much as Cindy and I enjoyed making this podcast, what we would appreciate is 100% of you going back to wherever you found us and rating us 5 stars, leaving a comment as well. It helps people find this episode.
Definitely. We appreciate your support. And as always, follow Yasha at Kakis, Kaykas, or myself at Subes01, Subes01. And we look forward to hearing, we look forward to next episode.